All right. Nobody's on yet. That's okay. I'm going to wait a minute, get myself situated here. Make sure the lighting looks good. The lighting actually looks good this week. Better than it did last week. Oh. And we have a minute. I'm going to sip my tea. And there we go. It's 2:00. Oh, and I'm sorry, I almost said Nora. Norma is here. Hi, Norma. So let's just get started. Everybody will start coming along as we get going. Let's talk about the Goodwill fabric. I'm sure lots of you saw the little video. I was trying to do a short, and for some reason, I guess shorts have to be under a minute because I went over and it wouldn't let me post it as a short. It was like 1 minute and 23 seconds would not let me post it as a short. But many of you have seen it, and I know you want to talk about the fabric. So here's the price, $6.99, right? So this first one, now keep in mind brown, not my favorite color, but this is a bottom weight. So I will make it into a skirt or something. Whoops. And it's a nice chocolate brown. To me, this feels like just tactile because there's nothing on it. It feels like a cotton poly blend. You know, cotton poly blend, it has that cotton is like duller, especially after you wash it. This I don't think has been washed, but the cotton poly blends have almost like a slippery, I don't know how to describe it, more like a slippery, silky kind of feeling from the poly. There's quite a lot of it. I mean, I'm thinking that's close to 2.5 yards right there. So I got that fabric for $6.99. Now, in the bag was even more fabric. So let's talk about that real quick. So this is why I bought the bag. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is a bottom weight crosshatch, probably 100% cotton, maybe cotton poly, but it's to me, I would call this a chambray, but I think a lot of people will call this like a denim, like a light denim. It's very light. And there, again, a lot of it, probably, yeah, I think this is closer to 3 yards, but perfect for a summer skirt. And someday I will start sewing again. You guys will see my trials and tribulations. I will start sewing again. I just have to get rid of the thousands of patterns that are now taking over my sewing room. I really no longer have a sewing room. It's a pattern room. Between the filing cabinets and this table covered with patterns, not to mention I have a bathroom that's also a pattern room at this point, you know. Okay, so this last fabric I thought was a wool or a wool blend when I was looking through the bag. It's actually two-way stretch. Again, brown, not my favorite color, but it's definitely bottom weight. Oh, wait, there's a tag on here. Tell me there's a tag. It says $2.99 a yard. So it doesn't even tell me how many yards, but it's a lot. This, and it's wider. Can you see how wide it is? Yeah, it's wider. This is probably 2 yards too. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. You know, it's brown and it's a stretch knit, so that's a tough one. But who knows? Who knows? So let's talk patterns, shall we? I tried to concentrate on 90s patterns this week, which didn't actually didn't really go the way I thought it was going to go. So first, I want to show you some of the weird stuff I found this week. I'm going to take this out of the plastic because I know the plastic has too much glare. So I found this. I've never heard of this company, Hillcraft. But wow. Remember I was talking about cottagecore? It doesn't get much more cottagecore than this. There's no line drawings or anything. It's just these pictures. I mean, there's a little line drawing, but it looks like somebody did that by hand. It's not like a professional illustrator. And this is actually a quilt pattern. This is it's weird because it's a patchwork skirt, but it's not actually quilted. Like there are, sorry, quilted skirts. This isn't one of them. I've seen quilted skirts. I've seen them done with patchwork and then quilted like a blanket, but it's a skirt. And I've seen them just patchwork. And I've seen actually pre-quilted material made into skirts. So there's definitely some stuff that you can do. All right, can you go back in the bag now? No. All right, not going to go back in the bag. Nice thing is this was in a plastic bag. It does not have that insane musty smell. So this bag had this in it. I thought, okay, it's another, one of these mail order patterns. So I open it up and what's in there but vintage transfers. They don't smell too bad, which is good because I can't iron them because they're the blue transfers that are ironed. So I'll show them to you. I have no idea who they're by or how old they are. They're definitely some kind of mail order thing. And I know it's going to be hard to see. Pumpkins, Christmas trees, a sleeping cat, this really diabolical looking thing here that I think is supposed to be like, I think it's supposed to be inserted in here with the chef. I don't know what that is for. And then it's got an owl and, some other stuff. Oh, and there's an actual, is that a potholder pattern? There's a potholder. I don't know if that's a potholder pattern. I don't know. I really have to take a look at this. I didn't really look at it much because when I opened it up, I'm going to put this back in its little envelope to keep it safe. When I opened it up, this was in there. So I'm, of course, looking at this going, well, what is this? It is. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. I really feel like it deserves to be like hung on the wall as like an art piece. It's a little mini catalog of all of these fabulous, fabulous mail order patterns. And I mean, here we go. Look at the day dressing. Actually, are these patterns? Yeah, they are. Okay, they are patterns. Fabulous dresses, more fabulous dresses, some knitwear, and of course, that cape, because, I think we should all start dressing like this to go to the supermarket because I'm tired of seeing everybody in sweats and slippers and their hair pulled back and a hoodie. And even though I have my hair pulled back today, I think we should up our game. We should all wear capes, and velvet and wool capes to the supermarket just to up our game. So, also in this bag, which by the way it wasn't in this bag. That thing was in that bag. And here, let's take a look at this because it's Sofro Fabrics, and it has the recycling symbol, which means it has to at least be from the 70s or 80s because that's when you started to see that symbol on bags, maybe 90s. When I was going through patterns, and I don't remember what pattern it was a pattern that was cut, so it ended up in the box with the cut patterns. I found this. A lot of times I'll pick up the pattern, and look, most of them are still in there. A lot of times I'll pick up a pattern, and first of all, it's like chunky, so I know it's probably cut. But also, a lot of times I feel like it feels heavy. It feels too heavy, and these were heavy enough to make the pattern feel heavy. And then there was this. Now these are kind of trashed, but look at how old this cool little package is. Glad it upside down. No, there we go. So like a cool little vintage package. So they were in a pattern. So that was an interesting find. And then, okay, so let me explain my process a little bit because it's a weird process. Okay, so I'm down to 4 bags in my bathroom. I'd like my bathroom back, which is good. We're down to 4 bags and it's March. I might have my bathroom back by summer. Basically, what happens is when we moved all of these patterns out of the filing cabinets to move them, I threw them into just black plastic garbage bags. And then I'll open up a garbage bag and I'll just sort the patterns. And I was bringing them in here, but I could really smell them. They were bothering me. So I moved them into my spare bathroom, which has an exhaust fan. I set up this little tiny folding table I had It's almost like for picnics. So it's not like a big folding table. It's only about 4 feet. And I pull the patterns out, and the patterns get designated into cut or uncut. And then if they're not cut, then it's children's, crafts, men's, women's. Because I found so many see and sew, the whole back of the table is just see and sew patterns right now, because that's going to be a whole nother thing. There's so many of them. But then I take the patterns out and I lay them down, and they sit there probably for about a week, and then they get moved to this table. So they don't get moved to this table until the patterns on this table are gone. So when I was going through the bags, or let me finish explaining my process before I get off on another tangent. After they hit this table, I sort them out by McCall's. I sort them out kind of by Simplicity, whoever the maker is, and then kind of the dates. Like, are they real vintage, right, which I've already described, before 1980? Are they 80s, 90s patterns? Are they 2000 patterns? Are they even older? Are they 1940s and 1950s patterns, like uber vintage, right? I sort them all out, and I iron them based on kind of what I prioritize. Like, I did a lot of 80s last week. I did a lot of 90s this week. So that's how I prioritized. Once they've been ironed, they go outside for a little while to air. And I let the patterns actually cool down outside in the air. If I come across patterns that I think are particularly kind of really have that scent to them, I'll put them in a separate box and put them outside and just let them air before they even hit this table. I have a set of patterns doing that right now. And then once they're ironed and everything, I keep putting them out for about a week every day. I just keep adding to them until I have a whole box. And then I get up on Saturday morning. Hopefully it's sunny. Like, it wasn't really sunny yesterday, but it was today. And I photograph them. I put them up on Etsy. And then that pattern goes into a box that I have over in my hallway that has a little bit of these downy crystals. Not a lot, because they're very strong, and some baking soda. And I let them sit in there in this plastic tub, and they kind of get rid of some of that last smell. And then they get put into, plastic, and they get filed away. So when I was going through that bag, I found lots of crafts. And I found this pattern, and I thought, well, I got to grab that. It's an apron pattern. And it felt like it had been cut. So I grabbed it. Cute, right? And it's like super simple. It really is this many pieces. And then when I was looking at it, because I was thinking about keeping it, it was actually not cut. So I ironed it up. Doesn't smell very bad at all. Actually smells like those downy crystals at this point. And so it's up on Etsy. In fact, most of the patterns I'm going to show you today have already been gone through this whole process, and they're now up on Etsy if you're interested in them. And the reason I say that is, last week, remember the Kathy Hardwick pattern that I said? I can't remember who Kathy Hardwick is, but her name's really familiar. Someone contacted me through Etsy that saw that video, and I'm sorry, I can't remember your name if you're watching. And she bought that Kathy Hardwick pattern for me. In fact, she bought another pattern from me too, which I don't think I think was a pattern I have had for a while. But I was just so excited that, like, somebody watched my video and then went and bought a pattern, and she used the discount, which I was really happy about. Yes, I want to make money from the Etsy account, or I wouldn't do it, right, from the Etsy shop. But I don't want to rake people over the coals. Like, if I see somebody else is charging $250 for a Vogue pattern, I'm sorry, there's nothing about that pattern that's worth $250. I'm not going to charge that much. In fact, this just happened. I just, put up a pattern that someone wanted like $100 for. I'm like, are you kidding me? No. So I am happy when patterns find a good home. So anywho, let's talk about patterns. So, let me take a stack right here, and we'll talk about some different patterns. I do not have as many as I'd like to. I actually started to get like a little pain in my arm, and it's from constantly ironing. I realized it's from ironing, so I'm slowing down a little bit. So let's talk about this first pattern. So this lovely pattern, I have never heard of Yes, I Can patterns. I don't know if there were more. No idea. But this is a serger pattern. It's from 1985, I believe. And it's actually, if you look in the corner, it's a Jiffy pattern, but it teaches you how to use a serger. Unfortunately, see this discoloration up here? The directions got really discolored. So I'm not charging as much as I could for this. Luckily, though, this is the pattern. Look at the pattern. Fine. Nothing wrong with it. Pattern's absolutely fine. So that was that. I did put it up online. It's not an expensive pattern. I mean, look, it was only $1.50 when it was first out, right? But, you know, I think somebody else wanted $6 for it. I didn't charge that much. But so there's that pattern. And then I found not one, but two. Sorry, they're in plastic. But, you know, Berta doesn't have an actual envelope. So this was crazy to me because I can't imagine dressing your kid like this anymore, but I guess, you know, people did. That's a 90s pattern. And then a classic 80s pattern. Look at those pants. Yeah. So those both went up. And speaking of the 90s, the nifty 90s, not one, but two French Connection patterns. So let's look at the first one. I don't know if anybody else remembers French Connection. It was a brand, but they also had stores. And I remember in the 90s loving their stuff. But it was painfully expensive for me. I did have like a black, it was more of a straight skirt than a pencil skirt from them. And it was expensive, but I wore that thing to death in the 90s. And then this other one, it's very hard to see, but can you see the detail on the jacket? It's like a ruffled jacket and then this weird, almost like joffer pants. Very strange pattern, but you know, they're up there. I'm sure somebody will buy them. And I came across this. I kind of remember this pattern line, the BBW pattern line. And I saw this and grabbed it and put it up there. It's just a basic dress pattern. Very 90s, though. Especially, look at that jacket. Oh, yeah, with those big old shoulder pads. And then what would a video about 90s patterns be without a pattern for a vest? Because we loved a vest in the 90s. I don't know what it was or why, but we really liked vests because they were everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. I remember them just, yeah. They were in all the stores. They were everywhere. So another designer I've never heard of. Dennis Goldsmith. Never heard of him. Again, this is a very 90s suit, right? I think this one here is like every Mother of the Bride suit ever. And there are the line drawings on the back. And then I found a whole bunch of these nonstop patterns. They're wardrobe patterns. You know, all the jackets have 2 lengths, things like that. Another nonstop wardrobe pattern. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not showing you the line. Oh, there's no line drawings on these. Huh. Jip. And then I thought this was a great pattern. I was very tempted. It's my size, but I decided not to keep it. I like Palmer and Plesh. If you're not familiar with them, Palmer and Plesh, they always include a fitting guide, and a lot of their patterns have printed right on them little directions and extra lines so that you can really fit things to make them fit you well. All right, so this next pattern, something horrible happened to this next pattern. Can you see that? Look, something just edit, man. Look at that, poor thing. Very cottagecore dress, no line drawings on the back. You know what? I will show you here. I'll show you the directions so you can see what the dresses look like. Yeah, it's a shame. I don't know what happened to this, but remarkably, the pattern and the directions were both fine. So I don't know. I don't know if whatever it was, ate the pattern in front of it and just took, you know, a couple nibbles off of this, but the pattern, absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with it at all, which is kind of remarkable when you think about it. When you see this much damage, I thought for sure I was going to have to throw this pattern away, but I didn't. All right. By the way, just spoiler alert, I have vintage patterns over here that when I saw them, I grabbed them because they were so fantastic. Found two of these. Kind of, yeah, see, there's that denim jumper from the mid-90s. I think everybody had that. Or you could do it in plaid. Mother-daughter pattern. There were two of them. We'll put them up. We'll see how they do. And I'm so happy I keep finding these. This company was somehow related to Simplicity, but I'm not sure. But they went out of business in the 90s. So all these patterns by style are all 90s patterns and all, basically out of print because the company went out of business. And then I found a couple of Vogues. Again, very, very 90s looks. Look at that. Yeah, very nice. And then Ultra Easy by Vogue, which I have a couple more of these. I don't remember this line, but this is a very 90s dress also. And there's the line drawing for that. And then I was so excited when I found these patterns, but I found not one, but two of these, two different sizes. These used to be super rare because they're not in print anymore. And they used to really fetch quite a bit of, some change, right? Not anymore. They're both down to 6 patterns. The market's kind of flooded with them. So this is a 60th anniversary dress from Simplicity that is based on I believe, a 1938 or 39 dress. I'm not sure when Simplicity started, but so this is a 1990, 96 or 98 or 99. And I can't read it because it's way too small. No, 98. So Simplicity must have started it in 38 because this was the 60th anniversary dress. So got two of those, two different sizes, which is nice. And then this was also a Simplicity brand that never really took off. It was their version of kind of like See and Sew or Stitch and Save. Stitch and Save's McCall's, See and Sew is Butterick. So they're cheaper patterns. They're a little bit easier. They're less, the garments in general are less complicated. But, it's interesting. This jacket's actually kind of cool looking. Yeah, it's a dolman sleeve jacket. It's kind of cool. Oh, this pattern. When I saw this pattern, I laughed out loud. Look at those pants. Stop. It's hammer time. There they are, right? Oh, look. Do you remember? What were we thinking? And this one here, I'm like, are these diaper pants? I don't understand what the fashion statement was with those. But, hey, it was the 90s, man. Stuff was different. I also found a plethora, and I will say plethora, of new look patterns. Some really cool ones. This is a stretch knit. This is for stretch knits only. This is kind of cool. It's like two different kinds of tops and two skirts, all for stretch knits. You can see on the back. But they're almost like sweatshirt tops. So this is, you could wear this to the supermarket instead of your other sweats, right? And then this will probably sell pretty quick. I thought these were amazing. High top pants, cropped shirt, and then just a kind of a general ladies button-down shirt. I think I listed these as resort wear because that's what they reminded me of, was resort wear. Very cool, though. And then this pattern. Okay, so I'm not sure if we can call this cottagecore because to me, this looks like a Victorian walking suit that's not full length. Look at the length on that. And it is very much like a Victorian walking suit. And then there's the back. But look at the back of that. Can you see this? I mean, that's crazy, right? So within these new looks, there was also, and I don't know why this happened, a bunch of new look patterns with no envelope, but a photocopy of the envelope. So I don't know what horrible thing happened to the envelopes for these, but I haven't listed these yet. I'm trying to figure out if these need to be listed as wounded birds because they don't have the envelope. Some people really are into the art. Some people are really into the envelopes. I get it. It's one of the great things about the vintage patterns. But just they're very nice patterns by New Look, but they're missing They're missing the envelope. So I'm not sure. I'm probably going to put them up as wounded birds. So while we're talking about wounded birds, we might as well look at the beautiful vintage patterns, and we'll start with the wounded birds. So I'm going to start with this very first one. Okay. You can see why I had to put it in a bag. How cool is this dress? But this is all there was. No back of the envelope. I do have the pattern pieces, but it's missing like, let me see. It's missing like 8 pattern pieces. I don't think I in good faith, I can even put it up as a wounded bird. So, all right. So kind of the same thing with this one. This one, okay, first of all, raise your hand if you think this one is that reissue that Simplicity did a couple of years ago. Except I thought their reissue had a yoke back here, but this one also is missing. It is missing the cuff. It's missing the long sleeve and the cuff for that one. Everything else is in here and actually in really, really good condition considering. So I don't think I put this one up. I was really undecided about putting this up as a wounded bird. And then let's talk about some of this other stuff. So why do I have this here? Oh, put that over there. Okay. I found this pattern, right? Now, this is my size. So technically it's a wounded bird. It has no directions, but here's the pattern pieces. They are pre-cut, still folded. Like, I mean, that's amazing, right? And just the directions are missing. So I'm like, well, I don't know, like maybe I'll just keep the directions. I don't know, right? Or I just keep the pattern and not put it up as a wounded bird, make the dress myself. I mean, it is the quintessential late 50s, early 60s shirt dress. Very on the fence about this. You guys can give me your opinion, but I'm very on the fence about that. Okay. This is why people want envelopes. Look at that cover art. And this pattern also still factory folded, nothing wrong with it. Here's the directions. You know, here's a picture of the skirts. Yeah. I mean, it's like, wow. Not a wounded bird, just vintage. And then we have this, which I put up. This is another one. Envelope's not in bad shape, especially considering age, right? And here's really, really good shape. You know, when I find things that are older than me, it's like, yeah, that's in really good shape. Oh, by the way, remember this pattern? This was the one that I said I wanted to keep because it was in my size and I thought it was so cute with the bow. I decided to give it up. You know, part of it was because I decided to keep this for now. So here's another wounded bird that's very interesting. Envelope's in good shape. Pattern's in good shape. She only made this shirt. So skirts are still folded, sleeves are still folded, everything's still folded. Collar's still folded, and the banding down here still folded, never used, still factory folded. But she did what we talked about last week. I'm not going to pull it out because I finally got it all folded up. She took the shirt, the sleeveless shirt, and she altered it. She added about 2 inches to it by slicing through it, taking a piece of newspaper, the Philadelphia Inquirer, again, yes, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and sewing it to the pattern. So I'm selling it as a wounded bird because it is absolutely usable, but I did not cut out that piece. I very clearly stated that it had been altered and that it was like, you know, that type of an alteration. There's the line drawings. And we'll see, because it is so cool, right? I mean, it's a really cool outfit. And the fact that both the skirt pieces and most of the shirt pieces have never been cut is just truly amazing. Okay, oh, now we're getting into the really good stuff. And when I say really good stuff, I mean really good stuff. I found a lot of what I like to call uber vintage patterns. So let's start with this little one here with the amazing envelope. So this is a New York pattern. I'm going to say early 40s because of the length of that skirt. It's a tough call, and it's a lot of fabric. It's a tough call because that could also be 50s. During World War II, they were rationing the fabric. You couldn't do really long skirts. You couldn't do lots of pleats. You couldn't do a lot of stuff. And then look, here's the beautiful, here's the directions with more line drawing. And this pattern, never used, still factory folded. It's amazing. It's amazing when you find something like that. And it's like, yeah, I think I might have actually said, oh my God, out loud to myself because it was just, yeah, it's so amazing when you find stuff like this. Now this is, wait, which one is this? Uh-oh, I got pattern pieces mixed up. That's never a good thing. I'll have to figure it out. But then there was this. Look at that. So these are mail order patterns again. So they have this envelope, which is the fashion service envelope. But let's look at that. Can you see those amazing necklines? Ugh, unbelievable. So yeah. So these are, by the way, all already up online. I just have to put them in their envelopes tomorrow and they'll be ready to go. Here's another one. This one, that last one I think is 40s, but this I think is 50s. This is a much more 50s look. So cute, right? With the little jacket. And again, came from the fashion service. So it's in its fashion service envelope. And then I found even more. Look at that pleated skirt suit. You can do it as a vest or you can do it as a jacket. There's the line drawings. This is definitely 1940s. It's probably before 42 because of those pleats. Could also be after the war ended. But after the war ended, you started to see what was called the new look, where it really expanded hip line, nipped in wasp waist, no more shoulder pads. You had the sloping shoulder because that was considered more feminine, stuff like that. And then this pattern, aside from the fact that the dress is off the charts fabulous, look at the colors. Oh my God, right? Oh, who doesn't want that dress? I'll take either of them. Thank you. Look at that. Oh, so pretty. So pretty. And then here's the line drawings for that. This is definitely 40s. It's 40 style. And again, look, don't think it was ever used. Beautiful, just beautiful condition, which is amazing to me because if I own this pattern, there's no way I couldn't cut it up and at least try it, right? Wouldn't be able to do it. Absolutely under no circumstances. So try and put these back together because I'm not sure. Okay, I got to figure out what this is from. Okay. All right, we'll figure that out. And then last but not least, another mail order pattern from Allentown Morning Call. And this is, I don't know who. I looked to see if I had a name on it. It didn't. It's just a vintage mail order pattern, definitely from the 1940s. It's got a very 1940s look to it. There's the line drawings. And again, I don't think it was ever used, right? It's like, okay, you never used it. And last but not least, this is an interesting story. It's kind of sad. Can you guys see how bad this envelope is, the shape of this envelope? So I found this, but in between this, and I can't even really show you guys. Here's the line drawings. As bad as this pattern looks, when I pulled everything apart to look at it, this was all still factory folded. It was never used. I don't know what happened to this poor envelope. but the pattern itself was never used. The directions are in great shape. I don't know what happened. Something horrible happened, but I don't know what exactly happened that was so horrible. And yeah, still on the fence about this, guys. I'm still thinking about it. Don't know. And I think these pieces here are the pieces that go to, they might be, I'll have to look at them tomorrow and make sure. I think these are the pieces that go to this. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to dig through and make sure. So yeah, we'll do a poll. Let's leave your opinion about this. Should I keep this? It's in my size. It's a size 44, which is a bust 46. I'm really like closer to a 45, but that's fine. I'm good with having a little extra room in the bust. All the rest of it should fit me. Like I said, here's the line drawings. The patterns, still factory folded, never used. And I'm like, wow, I gotta do something with that. So should I keep it? Should I sell it? Should I find a more deserving home for it than mine? Because I'm afraid that I'll never use it, because we've discussed on many occasions that I am, a chicken shit when it comes to using one of these patterns. Now, this one, though, is not notched. This is actually a printed pattern. But I'm always very afraid of vintage patterns because, they're vintage. Nobody's going to make another one. What if I screw it up? Like that kind of thing. You just kind of get in your head about it, but we'll see. So until my next video, please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys think. Should I hoard this? Should I sell it? I hope wherever you are, you're doing well. I hope that you're feeling well. I'm feeling a little, I'm a little off, but I'm okay. And until our next video, which will be next Sunday at 2:00. And I think I might take a break and we might focus just on a lot of vintage, because when I started to pull out the patterns from that bag and started going through the ones that I already had sitting on the table, a lot of cool vintage, like super cool, awesome bell-bottom 70s vintage, right? I thought, well, we did 80s and we did 90s. Let's hustle back to the 70s and we'll take a look at those. So until my next video, I hope you're all doing well. Have a great Sunday afternoon, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.